I wanted to be a category disruptor. I wanted to be someone that's doing something that no one's ever seen before, no one's ever felt before. What I was really good at is not making the same mistake twice. I was really good at reading something and being able to apply it immediately. It took about a decade before it really took off.
It takes years to be an overnight success. The best of the best have one thing in common. They do not give up. You cannot give up.
I'm going to do the stuff in the dark that nobody sees, regardless of the applause, regardless of the recognition.
Quit is not in your vocabulary, is it?
At all.
When you got a cancer in your organization, you have to cut it out immediately. I'm gonna hire real slow, but I assure you that if you come in here and you're disruptive or you're not doing your job, we're gonna have one conversation. The next conversation is either you got your ass in gear or you're out the door.
So I never treated anybody different. If you walked into my gym or Joe Johnson walked into my gym, I'm busting your ass. We're working. I got into a lot of verbal arguments. Everybody thought I was crazy. But that's why I don't train anymore though, because these kids can't handle what I used to do. Like nobody can.
I can be pumping you up all day, but I know that you have high self-esteem. Why? Because you went through the grind.
Because I earned it.
Because you earned it.
I'm Manning Sumner. I've lived my life by one motto: no days off. No days off is never taking a day off on you. It's a commitment to becoming your best self. Get ready to be inspired to do the same. This is the Big Dawgs with Manning Sumner. Just real fast, Dan Arriola,
yeah.
Am I saying that right? And you are the co-founder and president of Inktel Contact Center Solutions,
Yep.
a leading business process outsourcing provider driven by a passion for delivering exceptional customer service experiences. You oversee a dynamic organization dedicated to elevating client satisfaction and performance.
There you go, my man. Yes. Enough about me. I want to learn all about you.
That's cool.
Dude, so you played at Auburn, right?
Yes. Yep.
Did you play under Tuberville or did you play under
So
Terry Bowden?
So it's interesting. I had 3 coaches, head coaches.
Right.
So I was recruited by the offensive coordinator at the time, Jimbo Fisher, who then went
No
to
way.
Yeah, and
Okay.
then I came on as what they call a preferred walk-on.
Yeah.
So you come on with the scholarship guys, but you have to earn a scholarship.
Right.
So that was under Terry Bowden.
Okay.
And I'll never forget that. After 2-a-days, I'm walking up the ramp. It's like one of those moments you never forget.
Yeah.
Little Terry Bowden, he was tiny, you know. He's like
he's a little guy.
5'2",
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
Comes up to me, taps me on my shoulder pads, and I turn around. And he's like, "Sumner, you earned a scholarship," like that.
Wow.
And then I got the letter, and he handed me an envelope, and it was the envelope, you know, saying I got a scholarship. So I earned my scholarship my first year at Auburn. And then so they fired Tuberville. They fired Terry Bowden.
Yeah.
I think 2 years, and then I had Coach Oliver, brother Oliver, who came from Alabama.
Yeah.
He was the defensive wizard.
Yeah.
He's to this day one of my all-time favorite coaches. Coach Forrester in high school is probably my favorite, and then brother Oliver was he's the kind of guy that when you watch film, you walk away thinking you're like the master because he teaches you. He'll point out someone's toe, you know,
Really?
and it's just he breaks down film like nobody
Like
I've
no one
ever
else.
watched, so or paid attention. And then we all thought that he was going to be our coach, and we all wanted him to be our coach. And then out of the blue, of course, like they love to do.
They love to do it.
On the news, we hear that Tuberville's our thing.
Because Tuberville was at Texas Tech? No,
Ole Miss.
He was at Ole Miss.
Yeah.
That's right. And he was a assistant coach here at Miami.
And it was a tough time because he came in, and basically what he did was if he didn't recruit you at Ole Miss, he disregarded you.
What positions did you play?
I played inside linebacker.
So did you play with Spikes?
Of course, Takio's one.
That guy's got the biggest necks in the world
ever. And
what's
feet,
his neck? What's his neck?
I don't know. When I played, I had a 22-inch neck. So that means he must have had a 26-inch neck.
Massive.
He basically had no neck. It was all traps. You know?
Yeah, it was all traps. It went from here to here. I was like,
So
wow.
a funny story about him is the very first day I showed up.
Yeah.
I was a huge workout guy, obviously. Yeah. So I'm in the weight room by myself working out.
Yeah.
He comes in, and there was a guy from Birmingham the year before that came into Auburn and quit. He was a 6'4", 240-pound specimen.
Yeah.
And he quit. And so Takio walks in. He's like, "Oh, another white boy that's gonna quit?" Like that. That's what he says to me.
Yeah.
Like literally like that. So I was like, "Let's work out together." And then after that workout, he was like dabbing me up. He's like, yeah, you're the real deal.
You're the real deal.
Yeah.
Quit is not in your vocabulary,
No,
is
no,
it?
no.
It's not at all.
At all.
What kind of NIL money you think you would have gotten if you're playing now?
Such a good story. A lot.
A lot.
Tikio had NIL money.
Yeah.
Every Friday he got an envelope. So
They said like the $500 handshakes. That's what they say.
You know what's
in the
crazy
SEC.
too is like even my dad played for Auburn.
Okay.
And even he had
then,
a car. They gave him suits. I mean, that's
That's why Nick Saban wanted out.
Exactly.
Because he couldn't hide it anymore.
Yeah.
Now everybody's got it. Walk me through, man. Like, okay, so you play ball. Did you get into training right away and like training other athletes? Obviously, my guess is it's part of your life. You love doing it. How did you evolve into that?
Yeah, I mean, it happened early in my life with my dad. So my dad had us training when we were like could barely walk. Like it was just there's a funny Christmas video of me saying, "Look, Mom, dumb bars." I was calling the dumbbells dumb bars. But what happened was, as far as like training other athletes, is when I broke my back the second time. So I broke my back in high school, my junior year in high school, rehabbed myself back, became defensive player of the year in Alabama, walked on to Auburn, all that. Then my redshirt junior year at Auburn, I broke my back again. But this time, the one in high school was a hairline fracture. This time it was a full fracture. So it was my L5-S1 fractured in half. So the pain and everything was just unbearable. And I had an opportunity to go through that whole process again or take a medical hardship. And I just, at the time, the pain was like something I've never experienced. And sometimes I couldn't feel my legs at all.
Wow.
And it's real scary, so man. Especially being young. And so I took the medical hardship, let the dream die. But I absolutely dove into exercise science and kinesiology. And I really had this new purpose of, I want this to never happen to someone else. So I just leaned into learning as much as I could. And then I was always, even as a freshman, I was the guy that gave the locker room talks. I was the guy, before we ran out on the field, as a freshman, I was the one hyping up the whole team. Like, I've always been in that kind of role. Just, I wasn't even a starter, but that's what I did. So I ended up having, like 20-something players coming to, I think it was the Powerhouse Gym in Auburn, working out with me instead of the strength coach.
No way.
So it was just, early on, I just kind of like started doing it.
And the opponent for you ended up becoming injuries, right? Trying to keep guys on the field, working through pain and suffering and
everything was done, in my opinion, back then, just ass backwards. So everything back then was bigger and stronger.
Right. Not functional.
Where now it's speed and agility and, and more precision and power rather than pure strength. So like explosive power, not necessarily just how strong you are. And that was I'll never forget showing up at Auburn. I was at Auburn. I showed up at 218 pounds, running like a 4.6, flying around, like flying. Then a year later, I'm 240 with a 22-inch neck and probably running a 4.7,
Really?
And just I still was good, but I wasn't that specimen that came. And then after feeling like that, then I got back down to like 225 and then felt better. So that was just me kind of experimenting with myself, but it definitely opened my eyes to, that's how people should train. We should train for function first, and then all that stuff,
and flexibility and recovery
just
from
more
injuries.
of a total
holistic
approach than just like get as big as you can and as strong as you can, because that doesn't really correlate to football.
When did you go off on your own to start training, pros and college ball players?
So I did an internship at Samford University as an assistant strength coach with Tommy Rowland. Shout out to Tommy. Tommy Rowland was actually my first personal trainer too. So it was kind of came full circle. He was awesome, great mentor. He basically kind of gave me the football team to work with. And so that was kind of my first taste of doing it at a high level. Then a buddy of mine called me, said, "Hey, if you shave your head," and this when I had hair, and he's like, they're hiring people to be a stunt double, body double for Bad Boys 2. He's like, "You look just like this character named Zank." And so I did it. And then next thing I know, gathered up $2,000 in cash, packed up my car and drove to Miami. And
That's
then,
how you ended up in Miami.
Yeah, yeah.
Bad boy. Who knew?
I know.
We got Will Smith and you.
Yeah. And I'll never forget being on Euclid, and it was like choppy, and I remember just saying, I'm not ever going back. And the first night was like amazing. And it was just domino from there. And then I walked into Crunch Fitness. Probably about 3 days after being in here. And what was his name? Scott Hauser was the front desk boy. He takes me, shows me around. At the time, they had 38 trainers that worked there, and it was like the happening Crunch. It was 13th and Washington.
I used to work out there.
Okay, it's where Beyonce, Eminem.
Yeah, dude. I used to work out there.
It was the happening place.
Man.
So I became the 39th trainer, and then within 3 months, I had more clients than anybody.
Really?
Yeah.
And then so from there you branch off on your own. You showed me a really cool picture and an inspiring story out in the lobby of you went to Wynwood when Wynwood wasn't Wynwood.
Yeah. So I ended up traveling a lot with clients.
Yeah.
And just seeing what was out there from Atlantic City to LA to Vegas to Salt Lake City, Utah. I was training these high profile people for years. And every single time I walked into a gym, I wasn't inspired, and I felt like they were all the same. So, and it's the LA fitness model, right? As you walk in, there's offices on your right. There's a cardio section with a bunch of TVs. There's a free weight section, and then there's a machine section, and then there's this aerobics room tucked in the corner where all the energy is.
Right.
So and then the gross, and then they're all dirty as hell. So when I came back from traveling in 2005, I started to put the dream together. Back then, it was like old school white poster board.
Yeah, man.
Cutting out the magazine pictures and all that. And I had this vision of what I wanted my gym to be like. It took, obviously, nothing happens overnight.
Yeah.
So fast forward to 2007, I meet a new personal training client named Mark Gordon. And God rest his soul, he passed away. But he asked me, like, straight up, he was like, why don't you have your own gym?
Right.
And of course I was like, the money,
Yeah.
And so he's like, let's do it. And he believed in me and believed in and then that's where so that was November 2008 is when we opened the one in Wynwood. And it was a tiny 2,000 square foot part of an 11,000 square foot warehouse in the middle of the hood. Like literally homeless people shaving and brushing their teeth, hookers, 2 crack houses next door. I mean, it was a reach, to say the least.
How did you go from, look, you knew what you were doing with training, and then you're an entrepreneur. Now you're a business person. How do you learn business?
Trial and error.
Trial and error, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
Me too. Yeah. I mean, that's really it. Is you screw up and then you learn from it. Don't screw up again. I would say that's the biggest thing I would do is that I think what I was really good at is not making the same mistake twice.
Right.
I was really good at reading something and being able to apply it immediately.
Yeah.
So I would read it and then apply it. And I think most people sometimes they read it and they gain the knowledge and they sit on it.
And they can't implement it.
Yeah. And so I was really good at implementing. I was really good at figuring stuff out.
Yeah.
And then I was really good at doing it my way. And so, which was got a lot of pushback. Still to this day, sometimes I do. But
why do you get pushback?
Because people want to follow the norms and they want to say, well, that's how it's always been done, or that's how we do it, or that's how LA Fitness does it. That's how this does it.
Like, no.
And I wanted to be a category disruptor. I wanted to be someone that's doing something that no one's ever seen before, no one's ever felt before. And I really wanted to build an experience. And I heard earlier you said you read Shoe Dog.
Great.
And so that was one of my first books I read early on. So the reason why we have the Pit Bull, that's our Nike swoosh.
Right.
The reason why we have No Days Off, that's our Just Do It.
Yeah.
And then Legacy is Nike. That was very, very intentional early on.
Yeah.
All the way back in 2009. Those 3 pillars, I just hammered, and people didn't get it at all. They were like, "What's up with the dog?" Are you a dog trainer?
They don't get it yet.
Like people didn't. It took about a decade before it really took off.
First of all, it takes years to be an overnight success.
Yeah,
and people have to realize that, and they don't see the hard work behind it. But branding is very important to you. That's what I've noticed about everything. The pit, the no days off. It's more than just a slogan. Yeah. It is who you are. Mm-hmm. Talk to me about it. Why is branding so important to you?
Well, I think it goes back again. I mean, I'll lead with Shoe Dog and the Nike story and Jordan. So I I mean, Bo Jackson, Michael Jordan, I was obsessed with
You're
them,
my guy.
you know?
Well, you're Auburn.
Yeah, exactly. So I was obsessed with them. Jordan, even to another level.
Yeah,
Like,
man.
every time I hear people try to debate over Jordan and LeBron, it's a joke.
silly,
like,
yeah.
it's really silly,
Yeah.
especially lately. It's gotten even worse
Yeah,
lately.
yeah.
So just stop, all right? You're going to lose that one. But, and just the Jordan image, and I was obsessed with Nike too. So it was just watching these brands and then reading the story and understanding that, like, Nike didn't happen overnight. Like,
No
there
way,
was
man.
tons of struggle and setbacks, and
Yeah, dude.
almost went out of business. And so it, like, when you read stuff like that, you realize that that's what it takes.
Yeah, man.
And so I've always believed that as long as I keep going,
Yeah.
as long as I don't stop, as long as I never quit, that eventually I'll be on the other side of success. And so No Days Off was really, I feel like, in order to do something great, you have to attach yourself to a cause greater than yourself.
Yeah.
So to me, it can't be about me. And I even was told early on, because I was the face of the gym and I was training professional athletes and celebrities, that if you stop training, this will go under. I had several super successful business guys tell me, as soon as you stop training, this is not going to work.
Right.
So I purposely stopped training.
Yeah.
And I started pouring into other people and started building systems and procedures and stuff like that. But as far as branding goes, I mean, I wanted to live it. Like, I wanted people to understand, like Oscar and I were here at 5 a.m. on a Saturday. We were the only people here. And that's been my story for 15 years. Like, I'm going to do the stuff in the dark that nobody sees, regardless of the applause, regardless of the recognition, because I know for a fact it's going to pay off. And it's authentic.
Yeah.
I can't be out there saying No Days Off is never taking a day off on you. It's a commitment to becoming your best self. And I'm not becoming my best self at 47.
Right.
Like, because I tell people, you never stop. Like, my conversations with my dad are so awesome, and my mom too, because they're in their 70s and they're living No Days Off. You know, they're living in tension. They're trying to be their best selves. Like, and that's the thing, is like, why, like, people say you slow down when you get older. Like,
no, man,
screw
you're
that.
just getting going.
Yeah, exactly. We have a saying here that we're just getting started.
Yeah, man.
And my staff can't stand it when I say it, because I say it at every grand opening, at every chance I get. I'm like, we're just getting started, because we are. And I truly believe it too. Because where we are today is not where we're going to be in 10 years. It's just
100%.
not.
A big part of brand is consistency, and you have it, right?
1000%.
So you know you hit it when the people around you that work, they go, oh, here he goes again. That's part of the brand.
Exactly.
That's what you guys don't get.
Yeah.
It is, we're talking about basketball. It's that great story. It's all over the internet. It's clips. It's Larry Bird, he's practicing and he goes, about to go to the showers, and then he goes, somewhere Magic Johnson is practicing free throws, and he goes back out.
Yeah.
And then they have Magic, and he goes, and they didn't even know that they were saying this. Magic goes, I would practice be over and get ready to go to the locker room, and all of a sudden I go, you know what? Freaking Larry Bird is somewhere practicing layups. I'm gonna go out back. And that's the stuff that people don't see. They see your IG page, which is great. You got great social media people, but they don't see that you and I are Saturday at 5 o'clock. There's a lot of other things you and I could be doing right now, but we're having a great conversation.
Yeah.
So
100%. So tell me a little bit about what got you started and what you're doing and where you are today.
Yeah, man. I mean, so it's a company so my brother and I own two companies, right?
Okay.
So we own Inktel, which is a outsourced call center business, and I wish I could tell you that we had some master plan. But one of the things that we did when we built the business is that we didn't want to be like everybody else. So we know that success leaves clues. So we're going to study the best. So guys like Phil Knight at Shoe Dog, Starbucks was a big one. How do they hire people? How do they build systems? What do they do? How do they build an org chart? How do they scale? Those sorts of things. And we didn't study companies in our industry, which is interesting enough. And I've taken disciplines from guys like Bruce Lee to Michael Jordan to whatever. Like, how do they prepare? What are their lives like that? And over the course of many years, ups and downs, I'd love to tell you that everything's been awesome.
Well, it never is.
It never is.
Right.
But one thing I've always noticed, and I can see it with you, when people go, what's the one characteristic that you have to be successful? Look, there's guys that are smart. There's guys that are great at sales, marketing, engineering, whatever. I go, but the best of the best have one thing in common. They are resilient motherfuckers. They do not give up. You have to understand, you cannot give up. You can slow down, scale back, regroup, whatever, but you cannot give up. And you have to be have tenacity in running through your veins. Because if not, you will get your clocking. Because guess what? There's a guy across the street that's got a gym. There's a guy in China that's got call centers that's like working around the clock. So you cannot give up. And then you have to invest in yourself. You have got to get better. You have got to read. You got to have, you're fit, I'm fit. You got to take care of yourself. You got to take care of your mind. What's your mindset? And then that stuff is very contagious, and it's contagious to your team. The more you do that, and it talks to, your no days off, the more that it'll get contagious with everybody else. And that feeds. On the flip side of that is cancer spreads. So when you got a cancer in your organization, I cannot emphasize this enough. You have to cut it out immediately. So the old saying of hire slow, I'm going to hire real slow. You're not on my timeline. I mean, I'm not on your timeline. You're not on my timeline. But I assure you that if you come in here and you're disruptive or you're not doing your job, whatever, we're going to have one conversation. The next conversation is either you got your ass in gear or you're out the door. And that's it. And
I've made a mistake with that over the years.
We all have.
Because
I learned from the mistakes.
And you always think that because the whole job of a leader is to pour into them and try to make them better or whatever. And so you always see, I said this on another podcast, is that I never see somebody in where they are. Like I'm always seeing where they're going.
Yeah, man.
And unfortunately, a lot of times they don't see themselves of where they're going. They only see who they are, and they can't get out. They're stuck in that person.
Think about your self-esteem. I can be pumping you up all day, but I know that you have high self-esteem. Why? Because you went through the grind. That's why, right?
Because I earned it.
Because you earned it.
Like when you look at yourself in the mirror, you can't lie to yourself.
You can't be an imposter.
You can't lie to yourself if you have hit the snooze button every single morning. You can't lie to yourself if you're sneaking, donuts in the middle of the day. You can't lie to yourself if you didn't hit the weights in the morning,
man.
So
no, totally, dude. Totally. Question I had for you, which is interesting because I'm at that stage in my life too, is like scale. So you said you pulled away from training. You made it happen. How did you get all those trainers on the same page, buying into the PIT philosophy? How did you do that?
Systems. So it has to be systems. So I actually shout out, always have to shout him out, Louis Barone, a good friend of mine. He told me to read a book called the E-Myth Seminar.
Yeah.
The E-Myth Seminar by Michael E. Gerber.
Yeah.
I think he has 4 books. I've read them all.
Yeah.
But what happened was he told me to read that book, and I got the audiobook instantly. And that's another thing too, like that I feel like I do that other people's don't. If somebody recommends something, I've read the book the next day. I'm calling them and saying, So, because I feel like, again, you got to act. You got to
100%.
go. Like, because you're going to forget or you're going to put it off. So I literally put that audiobook on, got on the ARC trainer. I didn't get off the ARC trainer until I was finished with the book.
Wow.
And then when I got off the ARC trainer, I started implementing systems.
Yeah, man.
System. We're going to answer the phone like this. We're going to, we're going to build, this is how we're going to clean. This is how we're going to greet our customer. Like basically building out a franchise model and making sure that everybody, then also making sure that, so we have strength day and conditioning day and performance day. There's different kind of ways we do things. There's a rep scheme, there's time, like all this stuff. So making sure that anybody that comes on our staff knows how to write a workout out in the way we want it. So we have like different systems for that. And then it's just required reading for my staff. So that was something I thought was, it's The Advantage by Patrick Lissoni. They have to read that. Ego is the Enemy by Ryan Holiday. They have to read that.
Ryan Holiday's great.
And then The Leader That Had No Title by Robin Sherman. They have to read that.
Okay.
So those are required reading for all my staff. I think what that does is it makes sure that we're taking care of them from a personal standpoint more than anything. Are you developing yourself first and foremost?
Yes.
Because if you're not becoming a better person, then you're not going to be a good employee. So we kind of put that stamp into them and make sure they understand that this is the culture we want. This is the way we want you to act. And then that sets the foundation. Then obviously you got to learn our systems. And then I know you have a customer service background. So I feel like that's why we are where we are today, is that we're not selling fitness, we're selling energy, we're selling an experience, and we have to make sure we have a thing that we say, people have to walk out better than they walked in.
Yeah.
If you're not leaving today's podcast and you're like, man, that guy just got me fired up. If you don't feel that way, then I'm not doing my job, and I'm also not making this world a better place.
Yeah.
Like I want people to walk in and then their experience that they have here, they're going out there and telling people. That's your marketing. That's it. Every single time you go see a new movie, and it's good,
100%.
How many people do you tell, bro, you got to see Gladiator 2, it's unbelievable,
Yeah.
you know? And why aren't we doing that with our businesses? Why aren't we, why are we not doing the same thing? You go to a good restaurant, you're going to tell people.
Yeah.
So gyms, selling water, anything, it's all the same. It's all the same. And I actually have read a bunch of books on hospitality and restaurant business, because that's one of the hardest businesses there is. So if you can learn from the restaurant business, so like Danny Meyer's books,
It's a great book.
Table,
Yeah.
Unreasonable
Unreasonable
Hospitality, all these things, we apply them to our business. So I truly feel like, and again, we're not perfect, but I think we run our gyms more like a restaurant than we do a gym.
Right. So look, you're thinking about it even differently. You're not competing with in theory, you're competing with the other gyms, but you're competing with the best of the best. So you're competing with Danny Myers, right? You're learning from him. That's the way that I think that.
And I honestly everyone. That's always questions you get asked is like, who's your competitor?
No, man.
Who's your competition?
The best.
I'm competing with my best. So and that never is. You never reach that.
Correct.
Because as soon as you think you're the best, you have to improve on that.
Yeah.
If you don't improve, if you don't better your best, then someone else is coming for you.
100%.
So that's kind of our way we.
And you're always competing for talent, right?
1,000%.
It's the fuel.
That's the hardest part.
It's the fuel of the business, right? So if you don't have the talent, it's just like a football team. Auburn could be great, have all the great facilities, but if it's got a bunch of D2 players, you ain't gonna win a national championship, right? So you got to.
Happening later, unfortunately.
Or you have NIL dollars.
Yeah, exactly.
But the other thing is with your brand, I can see it, and you got to have high standards. Right? And
1,000%.
you cannot compromise those standards because somebody else, the guy who told you, hey man, you're never going to take off because you got to keep training people. Oh, really? Well, watch me. Unless you do that and you flex that muscle, it ain't going to happen, man.
Right.
How did you scale this business? Did you take out outside investor money or did you bootstrap it? Like, what did that look like from an entrepreneur?
Believe it or not, like when I opened November 2008, I expanded. So unfortunately,
by the way, great time just to open it.
Was
financial,
terrible. It was a disaster.
It was a disaster for us.
So 2 years later, I bought out my business partner for
Okay.
$11,000.
Right.
He put in way more than that.
Okay.
And I got my entire business back. So
Great.
Now I own 100%. Then I brought in some employees and they kind of earned some equity.
Yeah.
And I did that. Then when I went to expand, I met a guy. I'm not going to name his name, but I met a guy who invested for 20% of my company.
Okay.
That got us to expand the existing location. So we went from 2,000 square feet to about 8,000 square feet. Had a falling out with him. Bought him out.
Yeah.
Undisclosed amount. Bought him out. Got my company back. Then I was looking to expand to finally open up a new locations. So Coral Gables there was a gym called Iron Tribe, and basically it's like CrossFit gym. And they were really struggling, really bad. And I heard through the grapevine they were really struggling, but it was an amazing location in the heart of Coral Gables, 22 Merrick Way, right behind
I know where it
Denny's.
is. Yeah.
And so I went and looked at it, and then through a friend, I was like, started messaging him, hey, would you sell me your gym? And after negotiating a bunch of things, I bought his gym. So they had never had more than 100 members in 3.5 years. Mm-hmm. I think the most members they ever had was 110. So I immediately called my brother and moved his entire family here. And my brother was going to run the Coral Gables location because my brother can sell anything to anybody. My brother's the greatest salesman I've ever experienced. Like, he's just got the gift of gab. We say he can sell a ketchup popsicle to a woman wearing white gloves. Like, he's that good. So he can, and he's actually been in the gym business longer than me because he got in the gym business fresh out of high school. So he was in the gym business for years, being a general manager, a salesperson, whatever. So he knew the gym business. And in less than 3 months, we had 430 members.
No way.
Yeah. So then it's like, okay, your systems are working. So now it's the first time that we've proved that we can duplicate this.
Yeah.
So that's where my eyes really lit up, and I was like, all right, well, then, we can. And in that time, I met a man named Adam Siegel who invested a small amount of money through a convertible note to help me get Coral Gables open and run. Then, fast forward to, there's so much going on.
Yeah, man. This is all the stuff people don't see, man.
So now I have Wynwood and Coral Gables.
Yeah.
And so basically Wynwood paid for Coral Gables.
Yeah.
You know, the growth. I didn't really take on that much money, just a little bit of money. And but then that opened my eyes to the system is working. I thought I was going to franchise. That back then, that was what I thought I wanted to do. So I did. Two of my, I love them to death. Two of these girls that were members, they flew their parents in from France, and they were going to do a restaurant in Wynwood.
Yeah.
And after meeting me and after experiencing the gym, they were like, "No, we're doing a gym with you." So they were actually my first franchise, and that was in Doral, and that was 2017, I believe. And then at the simultaneously, I took out a loan, a $330,000 loan from Iberia Bank, and I went to open Kendall, Pembroke Pines, and Fort Lauderdale all at the same time.
Wow.
And then Adam reinvested. Or did he reinvest yet? I don't think he's reinvested yet. And here's the reason why. So we start that process in 2019.
Yeah.
So we got Kendall open. It just crushed it, like surpassed all projections, crushed it. And then we start the two other construction, and then COVID hits.
Right.
So now I have 1,078 members in Wynwood, goes to zero, and we close down. I have 400 something members in Coral Gables, goes to zero. I have Kendall with 300 something members, goes to zero. And by the way, all these zeros are not just members, they're also dollars.
No. Yeah.
The drafts were like, very high.
Yeah.
Construction though, because construction workers can't get COVID, keeps going.
Right.
We were allowed to keep going. So now I've still got to do construction and pay for construction for the two gyms that are being. So then I was one of the people that actually got everybody back open because I let the mayor absolutely have it.
Yeah, man.
And when they did these big Zoom calls, I was the only one fighting, truly fighting. When people were texting me you can't talk to the mayor like that. And I'm like, yes, I can.
Absolutely,
I'm a grown ass man.
Yeah, man.
And he's trying to ruin our lives. So make a long story short, which is impossible, but we were shut down for 3 months. So that's a lot of revenue gone. And then, and I'm trying to get two gyms open. Yeah. They let us open back up. So they shut us down. I had 3 gyms. When they came back and let everybody go back to work, now I have 6 gyms. So, and in the meantime, gyms are falling. There was 114 24-hour fitnesses that closed down. There was 30 F45s that closed. Everybody's Flywheel went out of business.
That's right.
And I'm growing. So it was weird, And then,
but that's where the opportunities are, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
If again, you don't quit, no days off.
And then also, that was when this is even wilder. Is that I identified. So when the pandemic happened, I knew everybody was going to freak out. I just knew it. And I'm not a freak out person at all. And I also thought it was all bullshit. But
me too. That's a different conversation.
That rabbit hole.
Shut down the healthy people in the gym.
Exactly,
yeah, okay.
Exactly.
That's a smart
RFK
move.
is back.
Yeah.
But anyways, whole nother topic. But what I knew is I knew people would be sitting in fear and not thinking about. I knew this. I knew people would make permanent decisions in a temporary season, and I did not want to do that because I saw Barry's. Barry's went full blown online training, on this online crap.
Yeah.
It tanked.
Really?
Because, bad. And because I knew that this is temporary, guys. Don't start. Everyone went to online. Peloton blew up, right? And now they're about to go bankrupt.
Yeah.
And so then what happened too is that I was in this no AC warehouse,
right?
Which was never really my true vision. My true vision was something like this, right? And I was there for 13 years. I was in a nasty fight with the landlord during COVID because, of course, they don't give a
crap about you. Just pay me.
Where's my rent? So I strategically started looking for a new place to move the gym in the middle of the pandemic. So I was calling realtors and everybody was like, "What are you doing? It's COVID." And I'm like, I don't care. I want to find. So I found something on the good side of the tracks, brand new, and negotiated the deal August 2020 in the middle of the pandemic.
Which was great for you.
Yeah. And then moved the gym, built it out and moved the gym. And by the way, had no money. Had no money to do any of it. None. But I figured it out.
Dude, amazing story. Resilient as hell. How'd you get into water?
All right. So It is 2021.
Uh-huh.
Well, let me take you back a little bit.
Yeah, man.
In 2018, I had a member that was an investor in Liquid Death.
Yeah.
And he introduced me to the product. And I'm a water drinker, and I've always have been. I literally only drink water.
Me too.
And so I thought it was like the coolest thing ever to be able to finally drink water like a normal person and not some cheese ball with a plastic bottle. So I thought it was a genius marketing play, a genius concept, and I started buying a ton of Liquid Death. Then he actually asked me to invest in the company.
Yeah.
And I took it to my existing business partner and we talked about it, but he said the evaluation was way too high and it's probably not the move. Then I was like just kind of sitting there and I was really like staring at my logo and kind of looking at their can, and I was like, I think I can do this. I was like, I can do my own water. And so there was another member that was in the beer industry. So I was beer comes in cans. So I was asking him like, hey, do you do water? And he was like, well, no, but let's do a beer. So my very first beverage was actually a beer.
Oh, really?
And
okay.
I did it with J.W. Wakefield, who makes fantastic beer. And we made an electrolyte raspberry beer.
Very cool.
Low ABV. It was like 4% alcohol. And people loved it. And the can looked just like the black can. So the can looked just like the black can. And we were selling at Total Wines for like $9. And it was a big success. And so when we first started doing the beverage stuff, we thought we were going to do beer. But we absolutely, after hearing about the 3-tier system and all this, then it just wasn't really on brand. So we just heavily shifted gears and pivoted really fast to water. But how I was able to open a beverage company was I was trying to raise money for the gyms.
Got it.
And Adam Siegel, my biggest partner, and great friend. So he's like the numbers savant. He worked for Fortress for 17 years and a Bear Stearns guy, New York finance, all that. So, and he's fantastic. We're very good. Like, I'm the muscle and he's the brain, kind of thing. You know what I mean? I mean, I'm very street smart, but he is really smart.
Sure.
It's like a different level of the way he thinks. So, and I've learned a lot from him, and I think vice versa. We just complement each other very well. So we're trying to raise money for the gyms, and he is doing business in Jamaica. He's running a NFE. It was a New Fortress Energy. He was running an LNG plant, natural gas plant. For his boss, Wes Edens, the owner of the Milwaukee Bucks. So he introduced me to a man named William Mahfood. William Mahfood owns Wisynco, which is the largest food and beverage distribution company in the English-speaking Caribbean and Jamaica. So we get him to Coral, and he also has family and kids that live in Coral Gables. So we bring him to the Coral Gables location. I'm talking about the gym. I'm trying to sell him on this whole journey. And I mean, the guy was just, all he did was stare at the beverage cooler.
Really?
And respectfully. Obviously, but he was just really paying attention to the beverage cooler. And we have a pretty big beverage cooler at the Coral Gables location. So he turns to me in his Jamaican accent and says, have you ever, who do you get your beverages from? And then have you ever thought about doing your own beverages? And then I was like, hell yes, I want to do my own water. And then we start, I want to do that. I want to do it in the can. Have you ever heard of Liquid Death? Then I start selling them on that. So, after 7 meetings and all this stuff, we end up going to dinner with his son, Joseph. And we really just start talking about what I wanted for the brand and where I wanted to take it. And I had an apparel company also. And I really leaned into what I believe is going to ultimately be where we go with the brand is the movement. It's I've always wanted something that went beyond a product, beyond a service, beyond a brick and mortar business, something that you could attach to your life, whether you're wearing it, consuming it, or going to it. Just Do It. One of my favorite movies, Pay It Forward. I don't know if you've seen it.
Of course. That's a movie. It's a good movie.
When I watched that movie, I was like, I want to be that guy. I want to make an impact like that. Don't want to die afterwards, but I want to, but
it's solid for people.
And so I was telling him that, and he's like, look, I'm not really into gyms. He's like, I don't understand the business. I've never been a part of it, and it sounds like it's a tough business, but I know beverages, and that's what I do. He's like, let's open up a beverage company, and let's do this. And so me, Adam, and William, we opened up Indio Bev LLC, and we started on this journey of developing our own water in a can. So we were playing on the sustainability.
Yeah.
And then also what we did was Liquid Death disrupted the budget water space. So they disrupted the Zephyr Hills, the Poland Springs, the Aquafinas, the Dasanis, right? I looked at it and I was like, okay, we don't want to like go head to head with an established brand that's already valued. I mean, now they're valued at over $1 billion.
Crazy.
Back then they were valued at
Super Bowl
200
ad.
million. Exactly. So I was like, we don't want to play that game.
Yeah.
And also like, you know, they already kind of own that world. They're the Doritos of canned water is how I saw it. I was like, let's be the steak. I was like, let's go after it like we are the premium player in this new way of doing water.
Yeah.
So immediately I thought of, well, how can we put a stamp on the fact that we're going to be the premium canned water in the game? I have relationships with all these professional athletes.
Right.
Let me contact my people at Miami Heat and let me see if I can just get in the door with this idea of replacing Fiji and Perrier in the arena, right?
And you had never done any of this before.
No, none of
Which is a great story.
Yeah. So we set up a meeting with their people, and I did not have water, a can. I didn't have nothing. I had a cardboard like presentation of what the idea was.
Sure.
So we pitch them on the whole thing, and they love it. You know, they're like, no days off, matches the Heat culture.
Yeah.
Like, this is unbelievable. But obviously, they're like, okay, you
Where's
need
the
a
water?
product, and where's the water? So obviously, in the background, we are developing stuff.
Yeah.
So we had met a guy named Rodolfo that did water for Pepsi in Venezuela for 20 years.
Okay.
He came up with his new reverse osmosis system. It's a seven-step reverse osmosis system with ozone and ultralight and tonal pasteurization to absolutely take any water on the planet and get all the impurities out of it. And if you can do good water in Venezuela, you can do good water anywhere.
Yeah, right.
So we're doing this in Pembroke Pines, and we are developing our water. So it was very important to me coming out of the wellness industry and somebody that's going to be constantly drinking this. And the CEO of Liquid Death has constantly said he doesn't care what's in the can, that it's not even a water company. It's just
a marketing company,
which I get, and salute to him and congratulations. But for me, I want to have a premium water company. I want what's in this can to matter. And so we painstakingly went through about a 1.5-year process before we actually put out the water that we wanted. And now we have like a booklet like this big on how to make our water.
Isn't that crazy?
But it's literally, I kid you not, we do 400-page testing on all the waters out there, like all of them.
Wow.
And we are the purest water in the world. Like it's not even a debate. Like no one has the amount of dissolved solids that we have. Everybody has something in their water bad. Everybody.
Really?
Everybody. Everybody has something bad in their water except for us. So, and that's what we're going to lean on. And then we're coming out obviously with our glass bottles, which kind of puts another stamp that we're premium. But yeah, so.
Because it's funny, how I got introduced to the brand was the Heat games. I saw it,
Awesome.
and then I work right behind in Doral, right by your thing, and I was like, oh, the water guy sponsored the gym, and then I got the whole brand. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, distribution, like where are you? I mean, obviously South Florida's your home, but like, are you guys everywhere?
Yeah, so I love this story. I mean, it's one of my favorites. Obviously, we launched by ourselves.
Yeah.
So DSD with direct service distribution or something like that. I can't remember what it stands for, but we bought a Sprinter van and decked it out, and and started selling our own water. And then we started with there's a Kickstarter program by a company called SAS that kind of gets you in the door in certain areas of Florida. So it's just how to start, right? And then we did the Heat deal. But then one of my favorite things is we launched on Amazon. We sold, and this is a true story.
Yeah.
We sold in every single state, including Puerto Rico, in the first 60 days on Amazon. Yeah. I mean, it's wild.
And that's a tough sell because a beverage on Amazon is tough as shipping's a pain in the neck.
It's $28.99.
Yeah.
It's expensive.
Yeah, it's expensive.
Amazon rapes you, but anyways. But that's really how we got the brand initially out there.
Yeah.
And then door to door. We have a
hustle.
phenomenal team. Dustin is a fantastic so Dustin, one of my head of ops, he used to be in the restaurant business. He used to own some bars. So he knew all the bar owners. So one of the things we've done is we've taken about 83% of Liquid Death's market share here. Like we've basically just basically get the hell out of our city, you know. And we have opened the eyes to beer distributors on an on-premise play. So what we are doing is we're again disrupting selling water in clubs, restaurants, bodegas, coffee shops,
it's everywhere in Miami.
Fireman Derek's, like, you know, all these places. So then what happened is kind of like you found out is Reyes Holdings.
Yeah.
So who's the largest beer distributor
Chicago,
in the
right?
country?
Yeah.
Out of Chicago. Yeah. They own about like 60% of beer distribution in
They're
the whole
massive.
country. They're massive.
Yeah.
Massive. So what they have is they have subsidiaries in every different, not every state, but a lot of the states. They kind of like go like this on the map. So their subsidiary Gold Coast heard about us and said, and we were making noise because of our own distribution that we were building, and we were running into Gold Coast reps, and they're like, "Who the heck are these guys?" And so they asked for a meeting, and then we absolutely crushed the meeting. And we signed with Gold Coast. So Gold Coast is the largest beer distributor in the state of Florida.
Okay.
And we opened up 1,090 accounts in the first 30 days with Gold Coast.
Damn.
And then simultaneously, we're still opening up our own stuff. So we really have made some noise with them.
Yeah.
Then Tennessee subsidiary, DET, reached out to Gold Coast and was like, "Hey, we want to bring this to Nashville." So we just launched in Tennessee on Monday, February 17th. Congrats. With Nashville. And we opened up 40 accounts on the first day in a snowstorm. And then we just signed with Alabev, who covers the entire state of Alabama.
Damn.
And we also just got approved by Walmart. So
good for you, man.
So things are, next steps is we'll work on Georgia and South Carolina, North Carolina. Our water is actually made in Mooresville, North Carolina. So eventually, obviously, that'll be a play. And then, obviously, I want to go to Texas. And then the ultimate game plan is you got to get into California. And California is where Reyes owns 70% of the beer distribution.
Jeez.
So you get in California and you're hitting a home run. So we are.
Dude, you got to get in Alabama. That should be all over Auburn.
Well, we just signed with Alabama, so it's happening.
Yeah, good.
It's definitely the kids coming home. So,
there you go. The kids coming home.
Yeah.
Where did this entrepreneur bug come from? Did you always have it? Were you always having like little side business when you were young?
No,
or it just happened?
I believe that, and this is why I really believe in sports, is that, I thought I was going to be a professional football player.
Of course.
And then I thought I was going to be a movie star. And then I thought, I was going to be a model. And then, honestly, I thought that I was always like, when you walk in a room and everybody's like, "Who's that guy?" I was always been that way.
Yeah.
And not because I look great or anything. It was just I carry myself, and then that's been me since I was in second grade.
You always had style.
I was always the my wife says I always want to be the center of attention.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't want to be. It just happens. All right. So, but I think that what was the question? I just lost my.
Where did the entrepreneur bug come from?
Okay. So I think what happened is that when you're as competitive as I am, but the outlet is taken away from you, and then you're not the person who you've been telling everybody you were going to be. So you're telling everybody, "I'm going to the pros. I'm going to be this. I'm going to be that." And then that's taken away from you, and that's going to happen. Well, you better find something else to do, and you better be great at it. And then, so I feel like I've always had like a chip on my shoulder and then the fact that I train professional athletes. And I was around that, and then also celebrities. So I'm flying in private jets and all that. I knew I needed to develop something that was bigger than just training people. I knew that. So I think that's where the bug came in. And then also, I'm telling you, Shoe Dog was I can't stress enough. When I read that book, I was like, I'm gonna own a company bigger than Nike one day.
Yeah, man.
I said it out loud.
Yeah.
I believed it.
Yeah.
I still believe it to this day. And so it was really just it just spoke to me. It was like you can do this, man. If you do it every single day for the rest of your life, something's gonna happen. And that's what I've been committed to.
The wins add up.
Yeah.
Where's this business? What does this business look like in the next 5-10 years? Where do you think you're at?
Bigger than Nike. So
that's really big.
Yeah. I think that obviously it would take probably 20 more years to do that, but in the next 5 years we'll be a national brand.
Yeah.
We will be opening up in Nashville, a legacy in Nashville, 10,000 square foot facility in Germantown. we'll be disrupting that market that really needs a nice gym, like a nice brand that we're bringing to Nashville. We're doing Aventura in the next couple of years whenever they break ground. That's been like a 2-year delay. I have some things that I'm not going to speak about yet, but that I have.
That'll be episode 2.
Yeah, that I have. I'm going a little different. Another business that I'm working on. I truly believe that the waters are going to open up a lot of doors.
Yeah.
Because what the waters do is allows me to grow at a fast pace, where gyms are, you can only do 1, maybe 2 gyms a year. Because of the leases and the build outs and the construction and the people. So doing brick and mortar, you can only grow so fast.
Right.
But I truly believe that because you can grow the beverage brand fast, that what that's going to do is going to amplify our brand equity.
Yeah.
And then also I'm doubling down on media. I truly believe we live in this world that's headed towards media. So I need to be on the mic. I need to have awesome guests like yourself, and let's talk about things. I mean, we're seeing that. Like, we are our own commercials constantly. Yeah. So you got to lean into that space. And then just continuing to pour into those around me and making sure that I am building clones of myself as best as I can, so that these 20-year-old kids can do what I did, under the No Days Off umbrella. Yeah, man. But I tell all my staff that when they come on that, like, you can be a star within the umbrella, like, as long as you play that. Like, take advantage of 16 years of planting seeds. Lean on that, like You've done all the hard work, man. Yeah, it's crazy though how they'll pick an outfit, wear everything but your brand, and you're like, but you work for me. Like, it's wild. So
it's crazy.
Yeah.
I can't let you go without asking you the question about Shaun Livingston. For most people who don't know, he's a great basketball player, but he had one of the most gruesome injuries. Check it out on YouTube. And
or don't.
I actually don't, because it's Joe.
Warning.
It's Joe Theismann level bad.
It's really bad.
But he came back and had a great career, and you were his trainer.
Yeah.
What was that like? What was the recovery like? What did that look like?
So I'll never forget Shaun walking into my gym and, asking me a million questions. And I'll never forget saying, I need to talk to your doctor. And he's like, what? And I was like, let me talk to you. And so I called his doctor. It was either his doctor or I think it might have been his physical therapist. Mm-hmm. But I straight up asked him, I said, is he 100% healed? Like, absolutely, the knee is 100% repaired.
Yeah.
And they said, yes. So that day, the first day I trained him, I freaking destroyed his ass and did not hold back at all.
Really?
And I truly knew that every single person that worked with him before me they were scared because of the injury and because of the knee. Yeah. And at the end of the day, he needed someone to believe in him that he is 100% healed. And I think he trusted me in that moment to then trust himself. And when you go through a knee injury like that, and I've been around tons of athletes that have had that, you second guess everything about anything, about pushing a sled, about jumping, about landing a certain way. Like, you're horrified that you're going to do it again. So in that moment, we developed this amazing trust. And then, I mean, he was crawling out of there every day. And I'm talking like no AC, brutal workouts, taking him to the edge. And I mean, he was second guessing life many, many times.
Because of you.
But it turned his career around. I mean, he signed one of his biggest deals with the Brooklyn Nets. Yeah. And then went on to be a 4-time world champion with the Golden State Warriors. So
yeah, they thought he was done. Yeah. I think they're saying like they might chop off his leg kind of bad.
No, he I think the story is that he was like 16 hours away from losing a limb.
Brutal. Yeah. And then he went on and played forever.
No, had a phenomenal career. And the truth is, like, if he didn't have that injury, he would have been one of the greatest ever.
Absolutely.
Like, he was sick with it.
Yeah, he's a tall point guard. I mean,
he's 6'7". Yeah. He had moves for days. Like, he's one of the true mid-range player. They don't even exist anymore.
Yeah, great passer.
So
what do all the greats have in common? So you've trained some of the best athletes. What do they all have in common? 2 or 3 things.
Belief in their self, number one.
So a lot of confidence.
A lot of confidence. And and a lot of the confidence comes from the work ethic.
Really?
It comes from the years and years and years of them being in the gym or the weight room or on the field and working on themselves. So I think that that's the biggest thing I can say. Secondly is I feel like almost all really good athletes have a chip on their shoulder.
Really?
Have someone told them they are not going to make it. Someone, or maybe they're competitive with another guy, or like we're true. All great ones are true competitors. Like if we play ping pong, I'm whooping your ass. You know what I mean? Like true competitors. Yeah. And then lastly, just obsessed. Like
this is the only thing in their life.
This is it.
This
is what I do. I live it. Especially basketball players.
Yeah.
Basketball players, like a guy like Joe Johnson.
Yeah.
Now yoga is life, but shout out to Joe.
That dude played forever.
And he still can play.
Really?
Like, he is, and it's because of his dedication to his craft.
Yeah.
Dedication to his body that has to do the craft. Like, that's something I'll never understand is when these athletes are not taking care of their bodies.
Crazy.
Especially the amount of money they make.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't make any sense. And there's a lot of young athletes that are not. And they don't last.
Mind, man. And they don't last.
But you truly can see, in business, the 1%ers are few and far between.
100%.
You know, the reason why there's only 4 athletes hanging on my walls is because there's not a whole lot to choose from. There really isn't.
Yeah.
And that's kind of mind-blowing if you really think about it. But people don't, Tim Grover says it, like there's only a few.
There's only a few, and those are the greats.
Want it,
They really want it. They're hungry. They're willing to obsess over it. Almost like a sickness. I think one of the problems with some of these guys when they retire is where do they get that? How can you reproduce that in everyday life? It's tough for them.
Yeah, I wish there was more outlets for them.
Yeah.
I've had some horrible stories with some of my NFL guys just
they blow all their money,
losing all their money, and then not having any purpose.
Yeah.
And I think all the leagues could do a better job of supporting these guys when the career is over, from a health standpoint.
Yeah.
More assistance and like insurance and doctors and just being able to lean in on that. And then secondly, business opportunities. Getting them in front of people like me, getting them in front of people like that do sales, getting them in front of anybody. Just opening doors for them that they don't have to necessarily be passive investors.
Right.
Like they could actually open up their own business. I've got a great story of Stephen Tulloch, one of my former clients.
Linebacker.
Yeah. And he's Circle House Coffee, and he's thriving. And that's the thing is that I don't know if they all know that it's the same thing.
It's the same thing that you learn, that discipline, that teamwork, the structure, the teamwork, how to build
systems.
How to coach.
At the end of the day, it's like you're now. What happens is you go from athlete to coach.
Right.
That's really it.
You're transferring the playbook.
You're transferring. Yeah, exactly. So I love freak Ricky Jean Francois.
Yeah.
I think he owns now 40 Dunkin' Donuts. And
no way.
And then he has other projects and he just loves learning about business and entrepreneurship and growth. And so, Matt Kemp has amazing businesses, barbecue,
good
gyms, and he made
he made a few bucks.
Bit of money.
Yeah.
And then Charles Johnson.
Yeah.
It's interesting. A lot of my guys are very successful outside the field. So.
Well, my guess is the kinds of guys that were drawn to you had a little bit of this gene.
They had to because the guys that came into my gym, so I never treated anybody different. Mm-hmm. Meaning, if you walked into my gym,
you're busting your ass,
or Joe Johnson walked in my gym, I'm busting your ass. We're working. Like I'm not gonna treat you any different. I'm yelling at you just like I yell at the 17-year-old kid that comes in here. So it was a wake up call for them, and I got into a lot. Ricky Jean now, we almost fought every day. So I got into a lot of verbal arguments, a lot of pushback. Everybody thought I was crazy, but to this day, I'll do the same thing all over again. But that's why I don't train anymore, though, is because these kids can't handle.
They can't handle it.
What I used to do back then, nobody can. So it's hilarious now. I created Pitt, right?
Right.
And everyone asked me, when are you going to coach again? When are you going to do? And I'm like, y'all can't. I can't.
You can't.
I would, first of all, I'd be on the cover of the news story like that. I made 7 women cry I can't. What we did back then.
Yeah. You can't get away with it today.
Can't even get away with it. That's why like a Bob Knight, he can't coach.
No, he could have coached, dude. You kidding me?
You know,
kidding me?
like,
No.
Bill Parcells, like,
No, but I got a sense if you brought some of that old, if you got a young guy who would accept it, and you brought some of that old, you're gonna make that guy so fucking tough that he's gonna eat the young generation alive. They're not tough enough.
Yeah, but you gotta. I would have to have like literally someone walk an athlete in, and be like, he signed all the waivers. He knows what he's getting himself into. He's
gonna put his cell phone
away. And I'm
away.
paying you a fortune.
Yeah,
and that's another thing too. I won't do it unless I'm getting paid a fortune.
At this point, why would you?
Yeah.
My friend, you've been super generous with your time. I appreciate it. Where can people find out about you? And by the way, I'm saying this, I'm in your home court.
You're fine. We're at the headquarters in Little River right now. We're actually in my office where we shoot the podcast, the Big Dawgs,
which is
with
great.
Manning Sumner, and definitely just check that out. We have some I'm actually like encouraged by the conversations I've been having and the people I've been having. It's been like, this is something that I didn't think I was going to enjoy, and it's actually been overwhelmingly like, I love this platform to be able to talk about business, to be able to tell my story 15,000 times over and over again. Like, it's nice to be able to do. We have 7 locations in South Florida: Fort Lauderdale, Kendall, Pembroke Pines, Coral Gables, Doral, Wynwood, and Little River. And then we're opening in Nashville. And Aventura to be determined. We signed the lease, but we're still waiting for them to deliver. The Waters, Drink No Days Off.
There you go.
On the Instagram, and we're available on Amazon. And things I'm completely, absolutely grateful and blessed. I wake up differently now. I have an 8-month-old little girl.
Congrats.
And a 5-year-old son. So
congrats.
It makes you move differently. It makes you appreciate things a lot more, and it makes you work for your legacy, because now you have something to leave behind.
Yep.
And so I'm not slowing down at all, and I don't even it doesn't even faze me. Like, just keep going.
Keep going, my man. No days off. It's funny because people ask, why do you do the podcast? And I'm like, there's a bunch of reasons, but it's mostly just to meet interesting people. And having these kinds of conversations. That's the fun part.
Because you learn. You learn. From it. And I love when people ask different questions.
Yeah.
And people seem like engaged more on certain topics and stuff. Yeah. And it's cool to see like what you're into and so I like it.
Stay at it. I'll leave you with a stat. So I think there's been 5 million podcasts launched. There's only about a couple 100,000 active. So 75% of podcasts never make it past 2 episodes.
Oh, wow.
I think another 10% never make it past 10. If you do 30, you're in the top 2%. So it's all about consistency and getting after it, just like your brand.
Yeah. What is this?
Yeah. So you already blew it out of the water.
Yeah.
You already blew it out of the water. So you
pun intended.
Stay at it. Thanks, my man.
Yeah. Thank you. Appreciate you, Dan. Nice.